Okay, so start sharing and let's hit the road. Hope we all enjoy the webinar. It's not very long, but I had fun collecting the slides, and I hope you enjoyed as well. So now I will share my screen. And mostly it will not be slides, but a couple of slides. Otherwise, what's a webinar without a few slides? So we're going to talk about reducing operational costs and how some of our customers have done that. It's going to be quite brief. I'll go through the agenda soon. If you don't know me, my name is Ben Herzberg. I'm a chief scientist for Satori, also co-author of Snowflake Security by Apress Publishing. My background is around data security and cybersecurity in general. Was leading research, CTO, and various other positions. And feel free to follow me, tweet me, email me with any questions, and I'll be happy to connect. So that's just about me. And besides that, let's talk about this webinar. So why we are going to speak about why this webinar, why this topic of reducing operational costs, about Satori and what Satori does. So it makes sense to explain some of the cases that I'm explaining, and then I will present briefly, like in an aggregated way. We like aggregating stuff in data, right? So like in an aggregated way, 5 of the ways that in which our customers are cutting down operational costs, and then we'll have some questions and answers if there are any questions, and hopefully I have the answers. So that's it, nice and easy, not a long one. So sit back, enjoy, and let's hit the road. So why this topic of operational efficiency? Well, first of all, we're in interesting times. Like the macroeconomics is a bit wild, right? And towards the end of the year, there are a lot of requests for like how can we make things more efficient from an operational way, and from other ways. And so these are this was sparked the idea of doing this webinar. And also even without times being interesting, operational cost and operational efficiency is something that is always interesting and can be very relevant for people, and that's why I decided to go for it. So what I've done was to speak with a couple of our customers, and find out some of the ways in which they're using Satori to cut down operational costs. And of course, most of the reasons why they buy a platform like Satori, why they buy Satori, is not for cost reduction. Obviously, it's more for the self-service data access, for streamlining data access, for accelerating data use, and of course for the security benefits of reducing risks for data breaches, for compliance risks, and so on. But I was interested mainly in what they're doing, how it affects their cost saving. So let's have a brief introduction to what Satori does. And if you want a more than brief introduction, you can go to our website, schedule a personal demo. I will just go through the basics so we understand how Satori is used for cutting operational costs, but for other things, feel free to schedule a demo. And what Satori does for these and other companies. So Satori is a data security platform. We protect, or we help our customers protect sensitive data, mostly customer data, sensitive data like PII, like PHI, around healthcare, finance, and other fields, for customers who has data users accessing this data in databases, data warehouses, data lakes. That's what we do. Users can, as you see in the right-hand side, they can request access to data sets using Slack, using our data portal, using other integrations. They can get access to data sets easily and request that data from the data stores, the data warehouses, data lakes, databases in a secure way with security policies applied universally on all access to data. So that means we apply access control such as RBAC, role-based access control, ABAC, attribute-based access control, just-in-time access control or temporary access control. So a user can get access for a limited amount of time. I need access for a certain project or to debug something in production. I can get access for 20 minutes, 2 hours, or whatever is defined. And once I no longer need that access, I automatically lose access to the data, which helps make access to production data more controlled. And in addition, workflows like break glass access control. So in case of emergency, you can get automated access following the workflow that is defined, even automatically. You put the business justification reason and you get access to the data, and so on. And the security policies that can be applied are can be dynamic data masking or other anonymization of sensitive data. This is according to the user identity. So some users may get the data anonymized in a certain way, others can get it anonymized in other ways, and some users can get data only for their specific their specific location, and so on. And again, for a deeper drill down, feel free to just set up a one-on-one meeting with one of our experts. But that's just to understand the domain and what we're doing in case you're connected and you're not an existing customer, in which case you know what we're doing. So let's discuss some of the ways, and I think that let's just switch the slides off, and I think it's so just 1 second. Yeah, okay. Technical glitches. Okay, so let's just have continue the discussion. So when going for these cases, speaking with some of our customers to get those cases, which we'll discuss, which we will also publish at least some of them as separate case studies, because we found it interesting. Let's begin. So I'm going to share 5 different cases from 5 different customers, and I'm going to start with case number 1. So the emphasis was we did not buy this solution for this. They bought it for Satori for other reasons. However, they found out that their DevOps teams are using approximately 25% of their time in around allowing and revoking access to data. And I will explain the math behind it in a short while, but they wanted to clear more of their DevOps time for meaningful tasks, because DevOps engineers are not that easy to come by, especially good ones. and they found out that one of the main things they're doing that's hurting them, that's stopping them from doing actual work, or more work that contributes more to the value of the company, is granting access to data. Like an engineer or someone else requires access to data, to databases. They can't just give everybody access to data. They have sensitive data in there, and so someone has to give that access, and then someone needs to take away that access, and that process takes time. It has to, they have to understand where they want to give access to exactly, who approves this data request, and so on. And in addition to that, they have to monitor that. They need to revoke access once it's no longer done. And this was taking a lot of overhead. So once connecting that, their production databases through Satori's self-service data portal, they got rid of almost all of that time spent by DevOps. So that was really great, and they cleared them for meaningful projects instead of mundane giving access and taking that access away. So the main factors in here were the number of users accessing the data, the number of times they request data. Like think of 200 employees. Each one on average needed access once a week. Granting the data, including approval and everything, takes time. Revoking and monitoring in order to revoke took some more time. And I'm not talking about the risk now of forgetting to revoke data and leaving people with access they no longer need. And some of it was also costing in terms of pager duties, in terms of over hour. There's something breaks in the middle of the night, and someone needs to wake up to let someone in, and then to let them out of their data. So that was the first case of the DevOps saving, which was amazing, especially since it wasn't even part of the project for which they bought Satori in the first place, for which they actually, their primary use case of Satori. So the second use case actually was what that company bought Satori for, which is great. They bought it for these efficiencies. It was around their data engineering team. So this was around access to analytic data, to a cloud data warehouse that they have, with hundreds of users using that cloud data warehouse. And the project was initiated by the data team. And what they felt is, frankly, that they were wasting a lot of time on manual stuff, mainly on the data warehouse front, setting up masking policies, setting up role-level security around structured and semi-structured data. And they also felt that the more they do it, the more it gets complicated and the more time it takes, because you start editing elaborate policies. On top of that, data keeps on being added, and you need to change those policies. You need to track all of these configuration and managing roles, and they got to a very complex role structure, meant that they were spending a lot of time on overhead rather than on bringing new data, bringing new enriched data, and creating more value for the company. So the operational efficiency was lacking in a severe way, and this was actually the reason why Satori was introduced. And again, the factors here were the number of data users and roles. In this case, they had a role explosion in their cloud data warehouse. the time it took them to set policies, and they felt that the time, they didn't feel, I'm sure that they based it on something, but the time it took to set those policies of dynamic masking, of row-level security, was getting longer because it was more complex as there was more data and more edge cases and so on. And the role management became a time hog for them, and that was case number 2. Data engineering. Case number 3 from a different customer with around healthcare. So with data that keeps on changing and has sensitive data within that data, and they required manual and intensive data scans to continuously know where there's sensitive data. So they used to periodically scan the data for sensitive content. And not only was it the cost of compute and compute to scan the data, but it was the entire process around that took people's time to validate. It included different teams to validate the results, to validate false positives after those scans, and to schedule these scans so they don't interfere with anything else that's going on. So that was basically it. And also what they pointed out is the manual setting of policies afterwards. Like, okay, so we found something, now we need to add additional configuration, and they felt like they're chasing their tail. So basically the move to knowing continuously where the sensitive data is as it's being accessed, and being able to place policies by data types. So I want to anonymize access to a PHI from anyone, and not to a specific location, but to all locations. That was a game changer for them in terms of time spent, which was a big killer of operational efficiency. Number 4 out of 5. This one was interesting. So this was basically a reduce of the data platform plan. Okay, so the idea was that they had certain accounts of a cloud data warehouse platform that they use the native capabilities to set granular access controls on, such as dynamic masking and row-based policies, and the amount of sensitive data you have from all the data. Let's say that they had, I don't know, but let's say they had 10% of sensitive data in that account. But in order to set those native capabilities, they had to go to a higher priced plan that includes these features on the native platform. And that meant that they were spending 50% more on compute than with the former plan. So for all queries, regardless of whether they were to sensitive data or not to sensitive data, they had to pay a substantial amount of additional compute money, compute credit, and by setting the policies on Satori, universally on Satori, they could eliminate or they could use the lower priced plan, and at least on some of their accounts, and not need these features, and save a lot of money on compute So that's a neat trick, I would say. But seriously, it's eventually in an organization where there are analysts who keep analyzing data on the platform, and when there are dashboards and there's a lot of activity, this comes up to a substantial amount, and that's a neat saving. So I like it. And we'll go to the fifth case, which is basically reduction of compliance costs. So what the fifth company was describing is that they were spending a lot of time on multiple teams. When it came to compliance, it was a real showstopper for them. Like, it could delay projects, and the controls for developers' access to production save them so much time, as well as the complete visibility and data access audit, where they don't need to prepare as much data for compliance audits. And that is the fifth case. And that is the last case for today. So I will just go through the 5 cases that I just mentioned. One was the DevOps saving from engineers who require access to data and can get access using self-service. The second one was data engineering resources saved because setting the policies and managing roles, especially in a complex environment, was costing a lot of human hours, a lot of employee hours, a lot of data engineering hours, and it got more and more complex, and it took more and more resources from the data engineering teams. The third was scanning of sensitive data and the time it took to apply policies accordingly. Number 4 was the reduced data platform plan due to not needing to use some of the features. And the 5th was the compliance saving by being continuously compliant, by having data access logs across all data and so on. So now let's see if we have any questions. And besides questions, I will put a slide on with the additional information. So just there's a short administrative question, like is there anything being shared? So I prefer to keep it conversational in the second part. So I don't know if it was a good idea or a bad idea. You can connect with me and tell me. But so because it was, sharing bullet points, I felt like it was better doing it conversationally. Feel free to contact me and tell me how it went. So that's about that. Hope I answered that. And if there are any questions, feel free. If not, here's the link to our product page, or you can just go to our website, satoricyber.com, to learn more. Or you can watch our videos on the website, satoricyber.com/videos, or if you would like to schedule a specific meeting to discuss your specific needs or questions, feel free to go to our demo page. So I think that with that we conclude. Thank you for joining. And if you have any questions and you were shy about it, feel free to send them over. My email is ben@satoricyber.com, or you can look me up, Ben Hertzberg, on LinkedIn. And wherever you are, have a sweet weekend, have a great weekend, and enjoy and take care. Bye-bye.